What's up, everyone? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to go over my New Year's Six bowl games after Week 10 of the 2022 college football season. Week 10 was pretty much, a big weekend. We had some top 10 matchups, and also I made a few changes to the New Year's Six bowl games. I made a lot of changes to the teams. Some teams got beat. We're going to go over these New Year's Six bowls, and I'll give you my best teams. And this is basically just based off of how the teams played this past weekend. So I'm going to give you my best case scenario for all these teams, and also we're going to give you a 4 out of the 6 bowl games. I usually just do 4 out of the 6 bowl games, and then I give you my top 4 college football playoff teams on Friday now, and we'll give you the college football playoff rankings, tomorrow. So, the college football playoff rankings come out tonight. We'll see how these rankings go down, but let's get through the New Year's Six bowl games. Like I said, I made a change to these New Year's Six bowl games, so let's just jump right into it here. And we'll start with the Rose Bowl. I didn't make a change here, though. Oregon versus Penn State. I still got them here in the Rose Bowl. Yes, Oregon is a playoff contender, but I think, maybe they lose maybe the Pac-12 championship. Maybe their loss comes to the Pac-12 championship, and they probably don't get into the college football playoff. Penn State, I think they'll win out probably for the rest of the year. They have those 2 losses to Ohio State and Michigan. But Oregon, this is a team that has gotten better each and every single game ever since that loss to Georgia. This team hasn't really had a close game ever since that loss. Except for Washington State and some of those other teams. But like I said, Oregon has gotten better each and every single game. Penn State, same thing. They beat Indiana on the road this past weekend. It was an easy win there for this Nittany Lions team. I think Penn State can win out. I think they can go to the Rose Bowl, and Oregon probably could win out for the rest of the year. They can go 11-1, possibly win the Pac-12 championship, and possibly be in the college football playoff. Now, who will Penn State play if Oregon is in that playoff? Well, it could be Utah, it could be USC, or it could be, some other Pac-12 team like UCLA. Any of these Pac-12 teams can make it into the playoff, but Oregon, Utah, USC, and UCLA are all battling for that Pac-12 championship spot. But Oregon hasn't had a loss in the Pac-12 yet, so they could lose to somebody down the stretch there, but that's the Rose Bowl there. Oregon versus Penn State. I still like Oregon in this matchup. If I was going to make a prediction in this one, I just think Oregon has all the talent they have on the offensive side of the ball. Bo Nix has played pretty well throughout the rest of the weeks of the college football season. I think the Ducks are just a much better team than Penn State. All right, let's go to the Sugar Bowl. Big change here to the Sugar Bowl. I got LSU versus TCU. LSU, big win against Alabama. I think they can win out for the rest of the year. The schedule really sets up nicely for them. I think it just gets kind of bad for Alabama, to be honest, because they still have to play Ole Miss on the schedule. Even if LSU loses a game, and in the regular season, maybe if they lose a third game, I could probably take them out of the Sugar Bowl. For TCU, they play Texas this Saturday. That is going to be a big-time matchup. It's on the road. Texas just coming off a big win on the road at Kansas State. So the Big 12 conference is wide open. Like, anybody can win it. Anybody can beat TCU probably for the rest of the year. Because TCU still has to play, all these other teams in the Big 12. They still have to play Texas, which comes Saturday. Also, they have to play Baylor. That is next weekend. They still have to end things out with a lot of these teams in the Big 12. But like I said, anybody can win the Big 12. Anybody can finish second as well. Like I said, the Big 12 second place is going to be crazy. It's going to be a really crazy finish to whoever plays TCU perhaps in the Big 12 championship. Could be Baylor, could be Texas. Anybody can win it. LSU, who knows what they'll be ranked tonight. This team could perhaps make the college football playoff at the end of the year. Imagine if they're the only 2-loss team that goes in there, they win the SEC championship, and somehow they get in, but maybe they don't get in. Maybe they get into a New Year's Six bowl, though, and that's going to be the Sugar Bowl. Now, if TCU probably loses to Texas this Saturday, I could probably make a change here in the Sugar Bowl by next week, but we'll see how that game goes down. But if I was going to make a prediction on this game, I would predict LSU to win. I just like the motivation of this team and also what Brian Kelly has done in his first season. This LSU team has really surprised me a lot, and I think they're going to win out for the rest of the way. Let's see what happens, though, for the rest of the year. All right, let's go to the Cotton Bowl. Not much of a change here as well. I got Ole Miss versus USC, 2 great offensive teams. Ole Miss, just recently beat Texas A&M a couple weeks ago. They had a bye week to regain and composure and also get ready for the big game against Alabama this Saturday. I mean, can Lane Kiffin finally get it done? Can Lane Kiffin finally beat Alabama after 3 years? Of course, after being only 3 years at Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss's offense is pretty good. I mean, obviously they lost to LSU, but they beat Texas A&M. Now, the SEC West is wide open now. I mean, Alabama just lost to LSU. LSU also beat Ole Miss. I think LSU is in first place in the West. If Ole Miss beats Alabama, maybe they get in. Maybe they get into the SEC championship. But obviously, it's going to come down to that head-to-head. I mean, LSU beat Ole Miss in the head-to-head. Maybe Ole Miss doesn't get in as an 11-1 team if they win out for the rest of the year. But if they lose to Alabama, LSU is automatically into the SEC championship. I mean, it's obvious because, LSU beat Alabama already. They already beat Auburn. They already beat Mississippi State. And they already beat Ole Miss. So, I mean, they pretty much beat every single West team in the SEC. And, this is an LSU team that is motivated. Also, Ole Miss, though, I don't really want to give up their hopes yet. They could possibly still make the SEC championship if LSU were to lose a game in the rest of the season. But it just comes down to this game against Alabama. If Ole Miss wins it, they could get in. USC battling for that Pac-12 championship spot. I mean, they could still get in there. Maybe possibly meet Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. I think the good news for USC, they don't have to play Oregon, but the bad news for, Oregon, actually USC, is that they still have to play Notre Dame on the schedule. I mean, they still have to play UCLA. That is going to be a tough game. They already lost to Utah. And, Utah should be ranked ahead of USC, to be honest, in the playoff rankings. I mean, that kind of didn't make any sense this past week. USC, though, they already lost to, Utah in the year. So it's just going to be a wide open race for the Pac-12. If I was going to make a prediction on this Cotton Bowl game, Ole Miss, I think they would win it because of the defensive advantage. I mean, both offenses are pretty even, but defensively, they would have to go to USC. I mean, actually, Ole Miss. So I would pick Ole Miss in this game. But this is a matchup I like to see in the Cotton Bowl. All right, to the Orange Bowl. This was a pretty tough one to call. Notre Dame versus Clemson, a rematch from the regular season game. And if you look at these two teams, they just played this past weekend. Notre Dame dominated that game. I mean, Clemson's offense could not move the football at all. At least they scored, but DJ Ogilvy pretty much got pressured in this game. Notre Dame had his number all night long. And, like we saw about 2 years ago, Notre Dame beat Clemson in the regular season, and then Clemson got revenge on them in the ACC championship. That could happen again if this game were to happen. Now, last week I didn't have Clemson in the New Year's Six Bowl, because I thought based on the performance that Clemson had a couple weeks ago against Syracuse, I think North Carolina just deserved that spot. I picked North Carolina to win the championship if that game were to happen. Now I predict Clemson will win the ACC championship all year, so I think they can beat North Carolina, but Clemson still might make the college football playoff. We could see Notre Dame versus North Carolina in a rematch as well. But, in a neutral field, I would pick North Carolina. I would pick Clemson as well. But this is a Notre Dame team that has 3 wins against ACC opponents that were ranked in the top 25. They beat North Carolina on the road. They also beat Syracuse on the road. And this past weekend, they just beat Clemson. So this is a Notre Dame team has gotten better each and every single game. I mean, when November comes around, all these teams start to get better. And you can see what Notre Dame is doing over there. They're starting to get motivated now. And Clemson just really fell apart. They had a bye week to get prepared for this game, and that just did not work out. Probably the worst game I've seen Clemson play all year long. But I think they could still make the college football playoff regardless. But, it's going to come down to those college football playoff rankings. Where will Clemson drop down to? I don't think they're out of the top 10. I just think it was kind of crazy that they would rank Clemson ahead of Michigan. That was kind of crazy last week that they would rank them in the top 4, but we'll see how it goes. But this is the matchup in the Orange Bowl. Yes, I'm picking Clemson here in this game if I was going to make a prediction, because I think Clemson would get revenge on this Notre Dame team on a neutral field, but Notre Dame would win it in a home game, so I think, this is how it comes down to. Clemson gets revenge in this one in the Orange Bowl. And those are my New Year's Six Bowl games after Week 10 of the 2022 season. The college football playoff rankings will come out tonight. And again, thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.